Have you ever watched a magic show? The real trick is happening with the other hand. While you're staring at the distraction, the magician is setting up the big reveal. Right now, it feels like we're all sitting in the front row of a massive global magic show. Right now, the world's attention is fixed on the Middle East. This creates the ideal environment for things to happen much closer to home, quietly, without anyone really noticing. This is a classic political strategy. It's called the look over there technique. When a government wants to do something unpopular, they wait for a major distraction like a foreign war. We are suggesting that you can and should pay attention to more than one thing at a time. Some of our elected officials might be using that massive blind spot to their advantage. Today, we're going to look at that other hand. It's completely understandable why our focus is overseas. When you see images of conflict, it's natural to feel concerned. The news media knows this. They provide wall-to-wall coverage, 24/7. This creates an information bubble that can be hard to escape. You turn on the TV and it's there. You scroll through social media and it's all over your feed. This constant stream of crisis reporting makes it feel like it's the only thing happening in the world, but it's not. While the news shows you the same dramatic footage on a loop, other important events are unfolding silently in the background, far from the spotlight. Think about it like this. Imagine your house is on fire. All the neighbors are outside watching the flames, focused on the firefighters. That's the big, obvious crisis. But while everyone is watching the fire department, a burglar could slip into the house next door, completely unnoticed. In this scenario, Congress is the quiet burglar, and our collective attention is the fire. They are banking on the idea that the crisis is so captivating, so all-consuming, that no one will have the time or the energy to check on their own house, to see what might be happening inside the halls of power in Washington, D.C. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a documented pattern of political behavior. Throughout history, governments have used moments of national crisis to push through controversial domestic policies. It's a playbook as old as politics itself. When the public is scared or distracted, they are less likely to scrutinize new laws. They are more likely to accept policies that might otherwise be seen as an overreach of government power. The argument is often framed in the name of national security, even when the laws themselves have very little to do with protecting the nation from foreign threats. So, the critical question we need to ask ourselves is this: what is Congress doing right now? While the headlines scream about war, what bills are being introduced? What new regulations are being debated? What laws are being quietly pushed through committees, away from the prying eyes of the public and the press? These are the questions that matter, because the answers could have a profound and lasting impact on every single American. The laws passed during these moments of distraction often stay on the books for decades, shaping our society long after the initial crisis has faded from memory. For decades, Iran and Israel have been engaged in a shadow war, fought through covert operations, cyber attacks, and proxy forces. But on April 1st, 2024, an airstrike hit the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing high-ranking officials. Then, on April 13th, Iran launched hundreds of drones and missiles directly at Israel. Most were intercepted with help from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Jordan. A psychological barrier had been broken, shifting the conflict into the open. The immediate concern is preventing a region-wide war that could destabilize the global economy. It's a crisis with global implications. Once the drones were in the air, the American media machine kicked into overdrive. Every major news network switched to wall-to-wall coverage. Anchors, reporters, and a revolving door of retired generals and foreign policy experts filled the airwaves 24/7. Maps with scary-looking arrows, graphics showing missile trajectories, and endlessly looping footage of explosions dominated television screens across the country. The coverage was intense, relentless, and all-encompassing. It created an atmosphere of constant crisis, making it feel as though the world was teetering on the brink of another major war, a feeling that is both captivating and deeply unsettling for viewers. This kind of media saturation serves a purpose. It informs the public, yes, but it also amplifies the sense of urgency and fear. The tone is often dramatic, with breathless reporting and speculative analysis about what could happen next. Phrases like World War III, unprecedented escalation, and global crisis are used frequently, framing the event in the most alarming terms possible. This creates a powerful narrative that is difficult to ignore. When every screen you look at is telling you this is the most important thing happening in the world, you start to believe it, and your focus naturally narrows to that single point of crisis. The problem is that this media megaphone effect drowns out everything else. Other important domestic stories get pushed to the side. A debate on healthcare reform? Not as exciting as live missile defense footage. A new bill affecting your privacy rights? It can't compete with a panel of experts discussing nuclear capabilities. The news media has limited airtime and resources, and in a competitive market, they will always prioritize the story that generates the most clicks, views, and ratings. A Distant War, with its clear visuals and high drama, is a ratings goldmine that no domestic policy debate could ever hope to match. This creates an information vacuum on domestic issues. While the public is expertly briefed on the capabilities of Israel's Iron Dome system, they are left in the dark about what their own representatives are doing in Washington. The media's intense focus on the international crisis inadvertently provides cover for politicians to operate without scrutiny. They know that the cameras are pointed elsewhere. They know that the reporters who would normally be asking tough questions about domestic legislation are busy covering the conflict. This gives them the freedom to push their agenda forward, far from the public eye. The media blitz results in what you could call primetime panic. It's heightened public anxiety, sustained by the 24-hour news cycle. Constant alerts and breaking news banners keep the audience in a state of persistent fear, not conducive to critical thinking. It encourages a reactive mindset, where people look to leaders for action and are less likely to question authority. When the public is panicked about a foreign threat, their attention is consumed by that one issue. This creates a massive blind spot in our collective awareness. We are watching the shiny, explosive distraction overseas, while the real trick is being set up quietly at home. Politicians step forward with solutions that often involve expanding government power or curtailing individual rights. Bills that could impact our freedom of speech, our right to privacy, and our financial futures are being introduced and fast-tracked. This is the real danger of distraction. While the media focuses on the Middle East, legislative machinery in Washington, D.C. has sped up quietly. This distraction becomes a tool. Lawmakers push through legislation that would normally face intense debate. These bills are the legislative equivalent of a Trojan horse. Often cleverly packaged, they might be attached as amendments to must-pass bills. These are real pieces of legislation moving through Congress right now, in the shadow of the Iran-Israel conflict. They touch upon some of our most fundamental rights. It's a loud noise masking the quiet sound of a gavel passing measures that could reshape American life. Let's pull back the curtain and look at specific examples. First up, the Reforming Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which reauthorized Section 702 of FISA. Section 702 is supposed to collect intelligence on foreign targets located outside the United States, like spies and terrorists. It allows agencies to collect emails and calls of these targets without a warrant. The problem is that the government sweeps up the communications of Americans talking to those targets. The FBI has been using this database, collected without warrants, to search for information on American citizens. As the Iran-Israel crisis escalated, Congress rushed to reauthorize this program. This powerful surveillance tool has been misused to spy on Americans. It normalizes warrantless government surveillance of its own citizens, eroding our privacy rights. Section 3. The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act aims to combat rising anti-Semitism. It directs the Department of Education to consider the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, definition of anti-Semitism when investigating discrimination complaints on college campuses. The controversy lies in the IHRA definition, which includes examples that critics say blur the line between criticizing Israeli policies and anti-Semitism. The ACLU and others argue this could chill legitimate political debate, potentially silencing one side of a complex issue and impacting academic freedom. Passed amidst campus tensions over the war, it raises concerns about using a crisis to pass a law with problematic implications for First Amendment rights. Section 4. The TikTok ban and beyond. A provision tucked inside a foreign aid package could lead to a nationwide ban of TikTok. The law gives TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, about a year to sell the app to a non-Chinese owner, or face a ban from US app stores. The national security argument is that the Chinese government could force ByteDance to hand over user data or spread propaganda. Forcing the sale of a company raises First Amendment questions. By burying this provision, Congress silenced debate, presenting lawmakers with an all-or-nothing choice. This law sets a powerful precedent, giving the executive branch authority to target other apps deemed under foreign adversary control, creating a tool to restrict information access under the banner of national security. Section 1. The Crisis Catalyst. Why is the timing of these laws so consistently aligned with moments of international crisis? A crisis acts as a powerful catalyst for political action. In normal times, the legislative process is slow, but a crisis creates a sense of urgency. This urgency short-circuits the normal deliberative process, allowing controversial ideas to be fast-tracked. Politicians understand that a crisis creates a window of opportunity. The public, gripped by fear and uncertainty, is more likely to defer to authority figures. This creates a powerful incentive for lawmakers to package their pet projects as essential responses to the crisis at hand. Think of it as a political shock doctrine. The crisis becomes the engine that drives the legislation across the finish line. The international conflict is the pretext, not the reason. It's about using the fog of war to quietly rewrite the rules at home. The strategic use of timing is fundamentally about manufacturing consent. During a crisis, consent can be manufactured quickly through fear. When people are afraid, they're far more willing to accept solutions they would otherwise question. Fear simplifies complex issues and makes us crave security. The media plays a crucial role in this process, creating a feedback loop of anxiety. Politicians propose new laws in a context where the public believes drastic measures are necessary. The fear, amplified by the media, does half the work for them. Ultimately, fear is the currency of crisis politics. It's used to buy public acquiescence. Lawmakers can bypass genuine democratic debate. The timing is designed to ensure the argument is emotional, not rational. Beyond manufacturing fear, there's a more blatant strategy: distraction. This is the look squirrel school of politics. Create a flashy diversion to hide what's really happening. An international war is the ultimate distraction, consuming public and media attention. While everyone's watching the crisis, politicians quietly pass controversial laws at home. Public attention is limited, and so is media coverage. When the news is all about war, there's little scrutiny of what's happening in Congress. Committee hearings go unreported, amendments slip by unnoticed, and votes happen with no analysis. The TikTok ban bundled into the Ukraine and Israel aid package is a perfect example. The debate focused on foreign aid, while the TikTok provision, affecting millions, passed with barely a mention. This isn't accidental. It's a calculated use of distraction to avoid accountability. By the time the public notices, the law is already in place and hard to reverse. It's a cynical strategy that treats the public as an audience to be misled, not participants in democracy. The real action happens while we're all looking at the squirrel. This tactic isn't new. It's a recurring feature of American politics. History shows a pattern. Foreign crises are used to justify expanding government power and restricting civil liberties. The Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798, passed during tensions with France, criminalized criticism of the government. World War I brought the Espionage and Sedition Acts, used to silence dissent. After Pearl Harbor, Executive Order 9066 led to the internment of Japanese Americans. After 9/11, the USA Patriot Act was rushed through with little debate, granting sweeping surveillance powers. Each time, fear from a foreign crisis enabled laws that eroded rights at home. The pattern is clear. Crisis leads to overreach and freedoms shrink. Today's events are just the latest chapter in this old playbook. History shows this is the rule, not the exception. What does this mean for you? These laws may seem distant, but their impact is personal. Crisis-driven laws slowly chip away at your freedom so gradually, you might not notice. Think of your rights like a coastline. Each law is a wave, eroding the ground beneath you. The reauthorization of FISA, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, the TikTok precedent. Each is a small erosion of privacy and free speech. Over time, these changes add up, shifting the balance of power toward the government. The most dangerous part? These powers rarely get rolled back. What starts as a temporary measure becomes the new normal. We adapt, self-censor, and accept more surveillance as routine. The baseline for freedom drops and we forget what we once had. This slow normalization of diminished rights is the real legacy. It's not dramatic, but it's deeply consequential. The result? A society less free, less open, and less democratic. The erosion is slow, but the impact is lasting. Let's focus on free speech, the core of democracy. Laws like the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act create a chilling effect. People censor themselves out of fear, not direct threat. Imagine you're a student wanting to protest or write critically about a foreign government. Now you hesitate. Could your words be misinterpreted? Could you face investigation? Many decide it's not worth the risk and stay silent. Legitimate debate is stifled not by censorship, but by self-censorship. This effect spreads beyond campuses, setting a precedent for silencing dissent on other topics. The goal isn't to win court cases, but to make speaking out so risky that people give up. The result? Public discourse becomes bland, controversial opinions are pushed aside. Democracy needs robust debate, not sterile conformity. When fear shapes speech, we lose the vitality of open discussion. Now your digital life, emails, messages, social media, is under new scrutiny. Laws like FISA's Section 702 and the TikTok precedent mean your online communications aren't truly private. The government can access your data without a warrant, treating everyone as a potential suspect. Every message, email, or online interaction could be swept up and stored. The TikTok law sets a precedent. The government can block platforms or information sources in the name of security. Today, it's TikTok. Tomorrow, it could be any platform deemed a threat. This creates a kill switch for parts of the internet, giving the government immense control. The result, a digital world of suspicion and uncertainty. You start to watch what you say, and some sites may suddenly disappear. The internet shifts from a tool of freedom to one of control. Your digital life is no longer truly your own. Add it all up, eroded rights, chilled speech, digital surveillance, and you get a new, less free normal. These aren't temporary measures, they become permanent fixtures. The government's power grows and citizens must justify themselves. We adapt to being monitored, scrutinized, and restricted. This fosters compliance, not engagement, the opposite of a healthy democracy. Freedom doesn't usually die in a dramatic moment. It fades through boring incremental laws. It's lost in the fine print, passed while we're distracted. The crisis ends, but the laws remain, fundamentally changing the country. The danger is we won't realize what we've lost until it's too late. By then, these powers are entrenched and hard to challenge. That's why attention matters now. The long-term impact, a less free, less private, more controlled America. This isn't a partisan issue. It's about the future of our rights. So here we are, at the end of the magic show. We've seen the big flashy distraction overseas, the one working quietly in the shadows of Washington, D.C. While our eyes were fixed on the global stage, our own elected officials were busy. They methodically pushed through laws that expand government surveillance, chill free speech, and set dangerous precedents for controlling our digital lives. These are foundational shifts in the balance of power between the people and the state. This is the core risk of being a distracted public. The only thing that holds that impulse in check is an alert, engaged, and informed citizenry. The purpose of all this is not to make you cynical. It's to make you aware. It's to implore you to pay attention to what's happening in your own backyard at the same time. We are the audience that can choose to stop watching the shiny object and start watching the magician's hands. We are the only oversight that truly matters. So please, pay attention. If we let ourselves be fooled, the trick is on us.